After nearly 20 years of marriage and building multiple successful companies together, we have one secret on how to handle all that stress and still have amazing sex. After nearly 20 years of marriage and building multiple successful companies together, we have one secret on how to handle all that stress and still have amazing sex. Baby?
Yeah, baby.
How do we do it? Tell the people.
So many people ask us because we're so freaking busy. When do we have time for the intimacy? And the thing is, at least for me, well, not for me, for us, we just decided when we were starting all our businesses, what is the biggest priority? Is it the business or is it us? Now, as a whole, top line, when things are, if something actually really bad happened, what comes first? And we just sat down and agreed it was us. It was our relationship. So knowing that, how do you make sure that you don't ignore your relationship when you're as busy as we are? Because on a day-to-day, we put the business first from Monday to Friday.
But how do you do it? Like, what's your strategy? How do you not get overwhelmed? You've got so much going on. How do you keep a libido? Like, that's the real meat of it.
Let's get into it then. So for me, for many females, you need like the foreplay. You need the lead up. You can't just like, all right, let's go. Especially when I'm as busy. Like my mind is in a different space when I'm in business mode. When I'm in business mode, I feel...
You are a different person.
Yeah.
I can tell by your face what mode you're in.
Yeah, because I have to. It's a different part of my brain, and you have to be the decision maker. People look to you to make final things. You can't seem wishy-washy, but you have to go in with conviction. Actually, that's...
I think you're also just trying to get shit done.
Yes. So, but that's what I'm saying, like all of that, like I have to build up to it. Like it takes some strength in me.
You've got your armor on.
Yeah.
You're in fight mode.
Yeah. I don't want to say fight mode. I like to say business mode. Yeah, because I don't like to think of what I do every day as fight. I freaking love what I do.
It's interesting. I love to think of it as fighting. My fucking armor on, my sword.
Oh, yes,
ready.
but not...
Like, that's really... And people say, like, oh my God, you use war language. Yes!
Yeah, because...
I love it. It makes me feel so hyphy.
Yeah, I just can't stay there. It's not good for my mental state, so I don't like to think of it as war. I like to think of it as I have sometimes battles that I have to face. It's interesting how language makes a difference. And so it's a different mindset. It's a different space. I am definitely not soft. I purposely over time have cultivated more of a stronger mindset. But I recognize that doesn't serve our relationship. I love being a big pile of mush around you. Like, you cuddling me. Like this, oh my God, one of my favorite feelings is you just wrapping your arms around me. I like jump up in you and you like I put my legs around your waist. I feel so good. But when I'm in freaking get shit done, be a boss, have to like I don't want to jump in your arms and put my legs around you. So when it comes to making sure that you have the intimacy in the relationship, at least for me, I know what I'm like. So I've assessed my personality. I know what brings me into certain situation mood-wise. So I know, like coming on set here today, I got my sexy pants on, I got my jewelry on, I got my hair done, right? I got my makeup. Because we were doing relationship theory and you were talking about sex, so I wanted to kind of have that, like embody like that feeling. But now, when I just want a cuddle from my hubby, I need to like unwind. I need to like take off the armor, if you will. And so for me, it's how do I do that? So I go into what I wear. So if I want to be soft and I go from business hard, entrepreneurship, to soft wife mode, I very purposely will change my pants. I put my fluffy Wonder Woman pajamas on. Or one thing that we do that's been really meaningful to me is every Saturday, what do?
Which
every
part
morning,
of the day?
When you wake up.
My onesie's set out for me.
So
and then you don't wear yours.
No, stop it. I do wear mine. It was one time that I didn't because I had a reason I was changing into it. But see, he holds it against me. But no, like every Saturday, I put out our onesies, our matching onesies, and it brings me into a different state of mind because Saturday to me is my pleasure day, my wonderful self-care day. And so with that comes drawing and art and romance and bonding and sex. And so to me, it's like, it's all part of it. And so knowing what I'm doing that day, knowing that I'm setting myself up for success, to be in the right mood and emotional state, to be intimate with you, all takes like this preparation. Was it Sting that said, basically everyone thought that he had like
sex for 8 hours?
Yeah, but really it was just like foreplay, which means that he just tells his wife that she looks beautiful in the morning, and then...
Yeah, he was like, you could be out shopping. He was like, but you're paying attention, you're showering them with affection, and that's the foreplay that they need.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I very purposely, nothing's by accident when it comes to that for me. I very purposely go into it knowing like I need a soft morning, I need that space. One thing, if you're okay that I share it, we have showers together every Saturday, and it's like a bonding time, at least for me. I love it when we shower together. And this is all before sex, but we just like, let's just have a shower together. And so it is like this prepping of being intimate and having these moments of time with you where we shut out the business, but pretty much every hour of every other day is all business focused. So it is very important to me to have put it in a schedule if you have to, because here's the thing, people are going to hate the fact that I said that. It shouldn't be, I get it. Sometimes, yes, you should have like absolutely impromptu if you can, but when you're as busy as me and you, those impromptus may never happen. And now what ends up happening is week after week after week, you end up not having sex because you're waiting for those impromptu moments, and you use every reason of why you can't this week. I'm just so busy, I've got this problem, this stress over here, and they're all valid. And that's, to me, where you end up getting trapped, is you have the attitude that sex shouldn't be scheduled, intimacy time shouldn't be scheduled, because that's taking the romance out of it, and then it never ends up happening, and all the stress builds up, and then it becomes harder to reconnect. Like, the more you spend not connecting, the harder it is to come back. And so me and you always have like these discussions almost every week about like, all right, how are you feeling? And like, I'm better at checking in, at least with myself, on am I still feeling totally connected with you? If not, then what are we going to do differently?
Preach. Yeah, so mine is basically the same, just with slightly different specifics, but making sure that I compartmentalize so that work is during work time, but when it's husband and wife time, I'm not trying to both work and be with you. It's like, I'll work in the mornings while you're drawing and stuff like that, and then I will stop, and if I'm gonna work again later, then that's a separate thing. And so it's like the time that we're gonna spend together, we spend together. And that, making sure that the focus is entirely on us and enjoying each other and having a good time and reconnecting and out of the business, because we spend an immense amount of time focused on the same thing during the week, but it isn't husband and wife stuff. And so for me, that being able to say, okay, this is work and this is husband and wife, and I don't try to mix the two or do a little bit of both at the same time, that is incredibly helpful. And then also there is something about reminding myself of how important this marriage is, how much joy that it brings me, that I really want to invest. And so it doesn't feel, even, whether you call it, I don't think of it as being scheduled, to be honest, but whether it is very predictable in terms of, we're really careful to carve out time on Saturday and Sunday to spend time together. And so I know it's coming, but I think of it as almost like this sacred time where I want to be in the right headspace for it. I want to make sure that, whether I have to meditate or whatever, just to be totally neutral and reset and, just spend that time. Sometimes it's just laying out together in the sun and sharing space and, all of that. Like, I won't even say that I don't also have that. It's not that I need it in the way, the foreplay in the way that you do, meaning the Sting style, like just reconnecting foreplay, but it makes it better. Like, I really enjoy that as well. I want to feel connected as husband and wife. I want to know what you're thinking about and what you're excited about. And we're very careful to ask questions that aren't going to lead back to work so that we can really keep the two things separate. And yeah, I mean, like, the doing it because it's fun and doing it because it's like, I couldn't think of anything I would rather be doing at this moment than that. And by leaving that space for it and not being like, yo, I got to get back to work. It's like, My marriage is my number one priority. I am stopping down to have this time. I'm not conflicted. I am not feeling like, oh my God, I should be somewhere else. That doesn't mean that there isn't like a lot going on and that I don't have a lot to focus on and I work an obscene amount of hours, but I don't let that bleed into our time.
And you're right, but also sometimes even if you do, we've got a relationship and we've built the relationship where we communicate and you give so much space, because I'm definitely the one that feels the disconnect before you do. And we don't judge each other for it. That's another part of it. We've looked at how we live and how we feel over time and what the patterns are and what the habits are. And we realized over the 20 years is that I definitely feel disconnected quicker from you than you feel from me. And you don't judge me for it. I don't judge myself for it.
I'm grateful for it.
And you were so kind and sweet to say that, because that's how it then allows me to, because I've been very honest with you. I don't like feeling needy, right? It's not a nice feeling. No one likes it. And so I've discussed that with you and like, well, what if I do feel like I'm disconnected and you don't? And it's like, well, babe, you just need to tell me. And, you use these words and I'm going to stop down.
Immediately.
And because we've decided that, I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm needy. It's like, oh, okay, no, I have a thing. You don't feel the same. That's fine. But I actually am feeling disconnected from you right now. And owning it is actually more empowering.
It used to really, bother me. Not in a you've
I
done
would
something.
feel it before
Yeah, just like you feel disconnected.
Well,
that was so brutal.
What's interesting from my perspective, I'm like, how are you not feeling disconnected? Right? And so that's how it was.
It's been 45 minutes since we've been together.
But that's actually very interesting to say, right? Like when we first started establishing it, I felt like, God, does he not care about me as much as I care about him? Because I'm feeling disconnected because we haven't hung out. We haven't had this intimacy, whether it was sex or just like a talk or connection. And it's like, and he doesn't feel it, right? And so initially I was like, well, do I like him more than he likes me? Do I,
Really?
Yeah, I mean, of course, think about it. It's like, you're just like, oh no, I feel like I'm totally close to you. But we haven't hung out, right? So having those discussions.
What's really funny though is we will have spent, let's say, 13 hours one day working side by side, battling things and doing it and all that. And you'll be like, oh my God, I feel disconnected and we haven't hung out. And I'm like,
no,
what? We were together all day. What are you talking about?
We will have so many meetings together and we'll be sitting next to each other working. And then you go off and do your thing, maybe for an hour. And then you come back and at night when we get into bed, I'll be like, babe, I haven't seen you all day.
And I'm like, I've spent all day with you.
And that's when you're like, what do you mean we spent all day? I'm like, no, we didn't. I spent all day with my business partner, not with my hubby.
Yeah.
So, but even that, it's like we see things differently. And originally, I used to take it, like I said, as if you don't miss me as much, or if you don't feel as disconnected from me as much, am I needy or am I investing too much in this relationship and you're not? Right? And so having those discussions, being together for 20 years, being open and being able to communicate that. And like you said, it's like you want me to speak up when I'm not feeling it. And that is the most beautiful relationship I think that we could have, because now we just give each other space to say it. And you don't try and convince me, right? Obviously we joked just now, it's like, you just saw me, but you don't try and convince me. It's like, what do you mean? Of course we're connected, and then go off and do your thing. You're like, oh babe, I didn't realize, what do you need? And in those moments, you give the space in the relationship for me to say what I need. And you've never once gone, that's ridiculous, I'm not doing it.
And I'm responsive. Well, did I in the beginning? Probably, because that would have really been hard for me emotionally back in my early 20s. To hear that I made you feel like that. And so back then I would have been like, no.
I don't remember feeling rejected by you. So
maybe I didn't. I don't want to give myself too much credit here. But now, yeah, for sure. Because very early on, we said, okay, you feel it before I do. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. It just means that for whatever reason, I'm wired such that to take the positive side, that I have more resilience on that. I can endure more slings and arrows before I start feeling it. And which is actually how it feels to me. But I don't think less of you. I have always seen it as it's a great early warning system. So it's like, okay, amazing, because I may just be blind where it goes, oh, I'm not noticing. It's like somebody with an illness, right? And it's like they ignore. Oh, sorry, you have stage 4 terminal cancer and you're dead in a week. And it's like somebody else is like, I feel a little off. And you go and get it looked at and it's like, oh my God, yes, there really is something wrong. So I just thought, you know what? Like, she's the early warning system. I worry that I'm not picking up on something that I should be. Like maybe I'm so focused, like tunnel vision on this thing, that I'm not noticing that a problem is beginning to brew. So I was like, you know what? She's never abused this ever once. You never do it to like just get my attention. You're like really starting to feel something to protect the relationship and all that. You'll say, hey, I'm feeling disconnected. And then I'm like, I will drop whatever. Cool. We're going to re-engage. I totally trust you that this is the right thing for the marriage. And it has served us incredibly well. Rather than me saying, I don't. So why don't we wait until I do and then we'll engage? But if you were abusive and doing it like every 2 seconds, then it would create friction.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, you know, the boy that cried wolf, I think about that a lot. It's like, am I really feeling it? Or, and in fact, this is interesting. I say, am I really feeling it? Or is something else going on in my life? And that's actually what is the missing thing or the thing that I need to work on. But I'm actually projecting it onto you because I can't talk to you about the thing that's going on over here. And then I start to say, oh, actually, yeah, it's this thing over here that's making me. And it's just the fact that I haven't spoken to you about it that's actually making me think it's a disconnect in our relationship, but it's not. It's actually this issue over here that's the problem. And I'm projecting.
It's very insightful. Very insightful.
All right. So being able to speak up, having, I think, a person that is the, what did you call it, the responsible party, to speak up in the relationship that you both agree on is very important. The other person cannot push back when you wave the flag because you've made that deal in that partnership that you're the one that's going to wave the flag, but then the other person must respond to it and act. Not making each other feel guilty for being in that situation, giving each other the space to communicate the need.
Anything else? Then don't abuse it.
And then don't abuse it.
Word. There it is, boys and girls. It has served us incredibly well. We have managed to be very focused on our careers, to build something incredible together multiple times, and yet still keep the marriage as our North Star, as the thing that we invest in the most, because it is certainly the thing that has returned us the most. Speaking of things with great returns, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, my friends, build a beautiful relationship. Take care. Peace.